Hi, hello, and welcome to or welcome back to Verso. I'm So, and this will be a continuation of PODFIC, The Drakes Spoiled Brat. I'm Sorry Dad, by Yellow Sprouts. Chapter 3, A Grandfather's Touch. Tim has miscalculated. A minor error in judgment, really. Something in Mask could lead to being exposed by some difficult and bound for sacrifice by some fucked up dogger with too many curves. But outside Masks, it was the one mistake that led to something so terrible, so horrible, so tortuously atrocious, awkward, unavoidable concern. Worse than that, it was from Alfred. In the manner he'd rather be a difficult sacrifice, curvy knife and all. It was quiet now. Everyone had in fact been ushered out mere moments before. Tim would feel bad, but he knows Bruce and the others would be secretly pleased they got off shift a few hours early. He was seated at the kitchen island, in the downstairs one that always smelled faintly of vanilla. On the counter splayed out a full medkit that Alfred had pulled out from one of the cabinets. He always used up several rolls of gauze and blotted a pair of scissors. The pair still had a few strands of his designer pants. The chill against his leg was uncomfortable, but a necessary step for Alfred to check him over properly. "Mr. Drake, are you quite all right?" Alfred's soft tumble cut through the bass in his ears. Tim's eyes drifted back down to his ripped slacks. They were custom tailored, the same guy his father used to have. He could care less about his slacks, though he did maintain a small sneer at the waist. As for his injuries, they are non-consequential. Oh, well, really more inconvenient, though they weren't as minor from a civilian perspective, and hurt like a bitch. So at the very least, Tim didn't have to hold back the pain winces as Alfred plucked out some of the bigger shards. Pro tip: don't get caught up with glass and then proceed to expose all those wounds to alcohol. Alfred's brow was raised in mild concern. It was a lot. He hadn't spoken to the man more than passing greetings in years. He wanted to leave. "I'm fine. Are we about done here?" Timothy snapped back. It was a weird godsend that he was pretty buzzed and also pain-exhausted, otherwise he would have no chance at being Timothy to Alfred. It didn't help that Alfred's face did not contort into a glare. He didn't look at him with a newfound hatred. He just looked understanding, like he's done this song and dance a million times with Bruce, which he probably had. "Yes, you're all sold out," Alfred assured as he secured the last gauze on Timothy's left hand. Tim looked down, flexing his hand just a bit. It hurt, sure, but the wrappings were secure and nothing a little ibuprofen couldn't fix. He couldn't allow much rest. He needed to get out of here now. He called Leslie in the morning. One advantage of having a spleen back: doctor visits could be delayed. But to his horror, when he patted down his pockets, he found them empty. Fuck. Of course, the cherry on top of this god-awful evening, he lost his phone. Lucius was going to kill him. Well, not before Tim killed himself. "Looking for something?" An all too familiar voice called from the doorway. Bruce smiled a signature Brucie grin, the glint of what was clearly Tim's phone in hand. That was Timothy's phone, and he was 100% clean, but the idea of Batman having his hands on it for any longer than necessary was a detriment for Tim's already growing anxiety. He waited mere moments, as Bruce was in range, before snatching the phone out of his hand, quickly glancing over the screen. There were several texts from Lucius and a few from random people checking in, likely those at the party or had already been updated on the whole event. Tim swiped them all away, instead opened up his contact for luxury cab service. He's been looking forward to a small stroll home and dismissed his drive early. Now, even though he could hobble his way down the driveway, but he doubted that the Waynes would let him. "Mr. Drake, I insist we drive you. We're neighbors, after all, so it's no trouble," Bruce began, and yet, no. That was about the very last thing that Tim needed, being stuck in an enclosed space with B, even if just for 5 minutes. "Really, Mr. Drake? Well, you are a lovely host. I recall the Gazette just last week saying you drove your Bentley into the harbor," Timothy said, carefully keeping his eyes stuck on his phone screen. "I'd rather avoid any further injury for tonight, if that's all the same to you." Of course, Tim knew it wasn't Bruce, but Step. After Dick tried giving her driving lessons, he's done so many times in a Batmobile with spoiler, but apparently she had gotten used to the better stop time. They're fine, of course. Tim made sure of that. With a little help from the handy-dandy trackers in all of the cars the moment Bruce left the lot with them, along with all of Jason's various motorcycles. Oh, well, Alfred would be driving, of course. Bruce seemed a bit bashful now, but Tim knew better. And with all the guests still crowding the main entry, it might be a while before any cab service gets clearance. Well, fuck. Tim hadn't thought of that. Okay, 2 options here. 1, he insists on getting a cab, but they probably won't let him leave while limping. Not to mention his leaving would have to be for the press and other socialities. There was only so far he could take the stubborn insistence before it became suspicious avoidance. And of course, there was also the risk of being forced to talk for them for however long his cab took, and running his ex-sibling. Or 2, he could allow them to try, give him a ride, deal with 5 minutes driving, collapse in his bed for the night, ignore Lucius' texts for the next 14-ish hours, and book his appointment at the clinic tomorrow. As long as your butler drives, then I suppose that is satisfactory, given the situation. Bruce looked all too pleased, as Alfred gave a small head bow. "I just start the car. I ask you to wait in the foyer, Mr. Drake, alongside Master Bruce." Timothy hummed, waving him off as he began hobbling behind the butler, who thankfully slowed his pace a bit. Not too thankfully, Bruce was hovering. Always anxious, hidden under layers of angst and emo monologuing, but he was. Tim would be a hypocrite if he faulted him for it. Mother always said he was a wound-up kid, but appreciated how mature it made him. Even misplaced, he missed the slight smile of pride alongside the ash-covered words. "I want to truly apologize for the entire incident and assure you that the precautions will be taken in the future," Bruce said in his most flattering PR tone. Oh, fuck. How long has been talking? I sure hope not, Mr. Bruce, Timothy said shortly. Thankfully, being in pain was a perfect excuse to be an asshole. For the sake of good businesses, I will be fine with letting an accident stay as such. But I don't imagine others would be as so happy. Saying that as if Timothy has not also gained a reputation for being so happy. Though that he was of all other fire he didn't care to stroke. Well, I will call myself lucky, Bruce joked, but he could tell the atmosphere had soured. Timothy replied, making no effort to lighten the mood. Tim kept his eyes on his phone, replying some half-assed thanks and assurances to people he knew he didn't want to deal with in person should they feel concerned for his well-being. He could feel Bruce's gaze on him, but thankfully he had no obligation to acknowledge it, and Bruce seemed too much of a coward to try and break the silence himself. Alfred, the saint he was, took only 10 minutes before the car was sufficiently prepared for his departure. Tim hobbled his way to the door, refusing any offer of assistance from Bat nor butler except for the door being opened on his behalf. Sliding across leather seatings and settled in the far side of car pressed against the window, Bruce slipped in right after him and sat with Raj People's car sat in the seat that was facing Tim. At least not uncomfortably close to the point he felt on edge any more than the sheer fact of the situation. But as always, I have had it out of him. And Tim couldn't have 10 minutes of silence with his ex-father an arm's length away. Bruce broke the awkward silence with a dashing smile as he assured him, "Please know that any medical bills and cost of your suit can be charged by the VE and counts." Ah, nice to know. Trying minor problems hasn't changed. That was weird, being medical bills and designer clothes instead of a camera or ice cream. Then again, no need for medical bills when they had a whole mini hospital in the basement. While I appreciate the offer, Mr. Wayne, I assure them I'm well within my means, Timothy snapped back, narrowing his eyes at the man. Of course, I simply mean it as a gesture of goodwill. For such an incident on my property, I feel a sense of responsibility. God, why did it have to be so foggy tonight? Tim couldn't tell how far the drive was from his house. Really, Mr. Wayne, I've said for the sake of business relationship, I will hold no ill will. Keep it non-personal. Professionalism is the key. The moment they cross into familiarity, the more likely B is going to become concerned in all the worst ways. Bruce looked ready to rebuttal, but Timothy responded by channeling his mother's scathing glare and directing it tenfold at Bruce. It was a bit satisfactory watching the men tensed up. Just a smidge. The car came to a stop, and right before Tim could question what was happening, the window separating the driver area from the rest of the car rolled down. Alfred leaned just within view. We have arrived at the gate, Mr. Drake. What, pray tell, is your gate code? Oh, thank God. 0712. Tim relayed back. His death date, funnily enough. Oh well, Tim thought it was funny. An inside joke to himself. He could pick up the faint beep as Alfred input the code, and a loud screech as the gate opened and the car pushed forward. Unfortunately for him, his parents' days of luxury, including a large property, and even longer winding driveway that made up half the journey to the manor. In the meantime, Bruce and Tim continued with blank small talk, with careful avoidance towards Tim's conditions and the whole party incidents altogether. They ended up this small talk with the slightly more interesting topic of Gotham's opera house, getting funded from Drake's Industries, enough to help renovate the place after a Joker attack over a decade before. Timothy Drake appreciated the opera, and well, to Tim, it has its appeal. And any reparations post-Joker were worth supporting. Well, thank you again for the invite, Mr. Wayne. I do hope our companies can continue to collaborate in the future, Timothy said. I strained forward as Drake Manor came into view. He needed a satisfactory conclusion to make B feel like he succeeded in his role for the night, and this was a case closed on the entire affair. So despite his every desire, Timothy turned to meet his gaze. Bruce had an almost unreadable expression, but again he always did when not putting on an act like Brucie. Not a hint of Batman then. Good. Why, of course, and please do update us on any future plans as well as your conditions once you visit your physician. Bruce's face split into a thick plastic grin. The car went silent as the back was bathed in the moonlight as Alfred opened the door, hand outstretched to escort Timothy. Not goodbye, was said as the door closed shut behind him. Alfred, as always, kept a respectable distance. A small part of Tim wished he was within arm's reach. Not to dare break that barrier, but just to have him close, even if just a few more moments. As Master Bruce said, I do hope to hear an update on your improvement condition, Mr. Drake, and my sincere apologies as head of a house for your encountering with such a hazard. Alfred's voice was monotone as always, but Tim could feel the genuine regret in his voice. Yes, you did accept the work. I will check in soon enough. Tim pressed his hands against the doorknob. The cool brass was grounding. As he twisted the door open, he couldn't help but feel a weight on his chest. He could ignore it. Timothy wouldn't care. But milliseconds of silence, he could feel it growing. It would consume him heart and soul if he stayed quiet. And no level of precaution, even from the most qualified of help, can make up for teenage stupidity. I'm not fool enough to not recognize my own part in the incident. Alfred's lip quirked just a smidge. While I shall not agree with the blame on yourself, young sir, I can definitely attest to the unpredictability of teenage stupidity. Timothy let out an abused breath. Very well. Now I suggest you leave before this fog gets any worse. Least you lose 2 vehicles within a month. He turned away, pulling open one of the heavy spruce wood doors and stepping inside. It took effort not to shiver as the chill of the empty house washed over him, somewhat colder than the foggy night outside. Good night, Mr. Drake. He heard Alfred say. It felt farther away. Tim did not look back. He couldn't bear to see Alfred's expression, knowing that he may not be able to pull away again, he shut the door. Alfred stepped away from the stairs, watching the sizable wood creak shut, sealing the boy on the other side. He was just that, a boy, just as Master Bruce had been. Both just boys when they lost their parents, just with Mr. Drake, a few years older. He climbed back in the driver's seat and started the car again, heading back down the winding driveway. The car remained silent, but just a glare in the mirror, he could see the way Master Bruce's shoulders were tense. "Anything you wish to comment on, Master Bruce?" Barely a beat passed, a moment of sour strain quickly lost as Master Bruce let out a long and exhausted sigh. "For as crazy as my kids are, I'm just thankful they aren't that level of crazy." I knew his reputation, but that was only from second-hand gossip and through what happened with Jay. I'd given grace of years past, but he's just a bad kid. Alfred hummed as he turned down another steep gravel drop-off. "There is no such thing as a bad kid, Master Bruce. Only one in pain who do not know how to else express it." Master Bruce lifted a brow and shook his head. "I get it, Alfie, but I can't imagine what sort of pain comes with being Timothy Drake." Alfred did not respond. He would not humor words said out of misguidance, not when his master was always so stubborn to accept truth outside what he had already decided was. But seemed his old age wisdom knew better, especially since he had heard those exact words from so many others for over the years pertaining to his young master. Who knew just how alike they were? Unlike Master Bruce, Alfred was in no position to hold out a hand to the young lad. He got in close once, but they were both children, and all was, well, that was the past. But perhaps he could stop by with a pie for the ailing boy, a perfectly normal, neighborly thing, of course. Cinnamon apples would be perfect. Other notes. Meanwhile, on the other side of the door. Lucius, I'm fine. It's just some glass. Yes, just some glass. I'm calling lazy later, okay? No more paper, no work tomorrow? You hate my guts, but fine. Can you still check on my coffee shipment? No, not the one from Morocco. Not Brazil. Yes, the other one. 3-day delay. Does the world hate me at this point? Timothy. Ah, yes, the hired help. You're so lucky I consider you capable enough, having kept that buff and Bruce alive so long, to do a simple patch job. Tim. If you hold my hand for 0.5 seconds too long, I will start sobbing. Reader's notes. Guys, I'm so sorry for every pause. I was yelling is late, and I haven't read in a long time. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And, sleep well tonight. You deserve it.